Hey everybody, this is Neil Fallon from Clutch, and that just happened.
Hey guys, it's Front Row Joe with That Just Happened, sitting down with Neil Fallon of Clutch. How you doing, Neil?
I'm well, how are you?
Yeah, very good, very good. Appreciate you sitting down with us today. This is what, stop number 3-4 in the winter tour?
Yeah, this is a third show of what's more or less the last tour for Psychic Warfare. It's not a very long tour. We're going to finish up on New Year's Eve in Ohio, but this is it.
Yeah, cool, awesome. Psychic Warfare, we're gonna get into that, but before that, you guys have been doing this for a while. You've been around for 25 plus years with the original lineup. A lot of bands aren't doing that, still recording, still touring. How do you guys keep together and find inspiration through spending so much time together?
Well, I think mutually we all share a love of just being able to do this. I know, speaking for myself, and I'm sure the rest of the guys would feel the same way, is, you know, if you have a creative impulse and if you're a creative person and you're given the opportunity to do that as a living, you hold on to it dearly. I mean, that wasn't the case for the first, decade of this band. It was kind of, hand to mouth and day to day, but soon as after a while, we realized that this is, we're in it. So we're very defensive about it, and we also have a good sense of humor about it as well, and give each other enough room to keep, everyone comfortable.
Right. Well, you talk about room. I think what's interesting is you all have side projects, and usually side projects happen with other musicians for other musical outlets, but your side project, the Bakerton Group, is all with members of Clutch.
Yeah.
So tell me about that.
Well, the musical output of the band surpasses my ability to write lyrics to it. That's one reason. And some music just doesn't really lend itself, and I know there are musical impulses that the band has that don't trash them just because don't fit into the Clutch world. You go ahead and explore it and record it, what have you, and that's really what the Bakerton Group is, just another excuse to make music.
Excellent, cool. Going back through the discography, I've noticed a couple of themes that pop up over and over.
Okay.
Aliens.
Oh, you got it. Yeah.
Cars. And Texas. Yeah. Can you explain your affinity for those?
Well, the aliens and cars. I mean, look, I'm 47 years old, I think, something like that. But I get to still indulge my adolescent, fantasies, like when I was 15 years old, and that was what I thought about when I was 15, and now I can put them in rock songs, and it's tongue-in-cheek. I'm not one of these, conspiracy theorist buffs. I take all that as sort of like fodder for lyrics, because who's to say you're right or wrong about it? That's the real joy of it. Cars, I don't drive a hot rod. I wish I did, but I get to sing about them in songs. In Texas, I think maybe that's just because, to me, it's still such a... coming from the East Coast, the land of very small states, and getting to Texas, it's still kind of overwhelming. I remember the first time we went to Texas, it was coming from California. We had to get to Austin, and we got to El Paso, and I was like, oh, we'll be there in a couple hours. Nah, it didn't really work out that way.
Is that a favorite stop of yours in Texas?
Austin?
Anywhere.
Well, we recorded Psychic Warfare in Texas in Dripping Springs, and I have very fond memories of Austin. We had some friends that moved out there in the early 90s, and it's like a lot of other people, and very good but yet hazy memories of times there. And all the shows we've ever had in Texas have been great. We haven't played El Paso too much, but we've been all over.
Yeah. Well, you reference Beaumont, Abilene.
That was more of because they had to have the right rhythm, and not because I had any bone to pick with those cities. You know,
Just break out the map and say, okay, Abilene, Nacogdoches. No way we can put that in there. It doesn't.
Through them all. It's like Lubbock. You know, that doesn't have enough syllables. Abilene has 3, so let's put that one in there. That's really all it was.
I love it. And you said that you were in a cabin there when you wrote that song. Is that correct? And the lyrics wouldn't have been that way if you were somewhere else, like you said, on the East Coast. Is that correct?
For sure. I did one of those Airbnb type things, and it was a family had a farm up on a kind of a this is a hill country, so it was kind of on a small mountain, for lack of a better word, and it was a stone cabin that was built around 1860s by German settlers, and it was great. But after day 2, I realized what like a city kid I am, because it was really dark and it was really quiet, and that was good to kind of clear my head after days of hours and hours of noise. But it was a little spooky for me, so. That was kind of how the lyrics came about. It was like I'm a little bit paranoid, and there's also there's the spaghetti western meme that's been part of American culture for so long of the great western shootout and the white hats versus black hats, and I've always loved that stuff.
Yeah, cool. Well, let's go back to cars. You say you don't have a hot rod, but if you did have one, what would it be? What's your dream hot rod?
I often just kind of drool over pictures of Barracudas. I think they're probably the meanest looking car ever made. 68 Camaro is pretty cool too. You can't go wrong with that. I mean, I like them all really. And I remember growing up, my dream car was a 57 Chevy, but that seems more like a senior citizen car for me now. That'll be my second hot rod when I get into my 80s. But I could go for a Barracuda anytime now.
Gotcha. I love it. Well, we mentioned some new stuff. You were working on new stuff on the set or the sound check. Jean-Paul had said in the interview that you guys like to include that in your set list, a couple of the newer things that you're working on, to kind of get a feel for it, also get audience reactions and all that. I don't know of any other band that does that. Can you explain that as part of your creative process?
Well, I do think bands used to do that. I don't think there was this kind of formality to it that there is now. It's like, okay, you make a record and you keep everything super secret, and then you have this great reveal, and then you tour on it for two years or however long. We've always felt that for the sake of the song, it's best for it to be played on stage before it's recorded in the studio. You think of and what can sound like a great idea in the comfort of or the privacy between the four of us may not translate on stage, or vice versa. And it's a great way to figure out where the weakest points of the songs are, or maybe the arrangement is completely bogus to begin with and you need to start from scratch, and you can only figure that out when there's people staring at you.
I like that. Yeah, I think in my recollection, this is something off of our new album. You can get it. We released it, a couple months ago, but we're going to do something off our new album. But I don't know if I've ever been to a show in my recollection that have said this is going to be on the new album. See how you like it.
Well, yeah. I mean, if it's a song that we're playing on stage, it doesn't guarantee it's going to be on the record. It's just an idea that we're working on. Maybe there'll be an iteration of it that ends up in another song, and it is in no ways designed to promote the next record. It's strictly for practical purposes of us, one, learning the songs and figuring out how they'll survive the longest. The songs that were written in the studios, we don't play as often, but the songs that we kind of put through the trial runs on stage, those are the ones that we still play year after year after year after year.
That's really cool. That is really cool. So speaking of that, about December 2016, I saw an interview that said in about a year we're going to be going back into the recording studio. Is that about on track? Because we're right about there.
Well, for once we're on target. I don't remember saying that, but we're going to do this, finish up in Ohio on New Year's Eve, and then the bus is going directly to Nashville, and we're going to stay in Nashville and record the record in January, in the first part of February, and that really won't get the record out until probably September, to be honest with you, but our plan is to record it then.
And that's a little bit of a departure because you've recorded mainly in your home state of Maryland, correct? And are you going to be releasing with Weathermaker? Are you going to have the same producer? This new record in Nashville, what's that look like?
It's going to be with Vance Powell, who's actually out on the road with us now, just kind of to listen to some of the songs and, you know, learn about our hygiene habits. Or lack thereof.
Yeah.
And so he's going to record it. So just out of that, and because it'll be in a different studio, it'll sound different. I think it's going to sound probably pretty live and raw compared to some of the other records. But I can't really say that until I hear the finished product. And to me, that's kind of the exciting part, is, you know, discovering what it is, and also the terrifying part.
Right, cool. Well, we certainly appreciate you sitting down with us, Neil. It's been eye-opening, and appreciate your time.